game today against Everton. A little bit later on, I'm going to be giving you another clue in whose stat and also asking my guests some of the questions that you've been sending in through WhatsApp. But still joining me in the studio are the legendary SHAUN'S. Welcome back, gentlemen. Shaun Goater, Shaun Wright-Phillips, lovely to have you. Shaun, is Frank Lampard going to be going in at half-time the happier of the managers?
Yeah, I'd say on the first half performance, yeah, I think they've given as best they can to a City team. I still don't think they've troubled City in too many ways. I think Ederson had one save to make where maybe Richarlison should have done a lot better. But other than that, I don't think there's much more they can actually give in that performance, and I can't see them keeping that level of intensity up. I think once City get going, I think the game will change.
Goats, what have you made of the first half?
Well, I think that, for me, City haven't controlled the game the way we'd like to. And I think we're playing, we know we have to win the game, but I think I would have expected us to have that control where we move the ball, shift the ball around to one side. And if the angles and the distances are not good for us to penetrate that pass and move it back around the other side. And I found that we made the game a high transitional game, which is unlike us. Normally we'd have it for a number of passes until that pass is right to thread it and then deliver that. But again, because of the transition, it's allowed the fans to get involved in the game. The fans, their cheering is allowed the Evertonian players to feel more up for this game. So this is, and Shaun's right. You know, Everton is probably giving as good as they can give, but I think we're playing a part in that because normally we keep that ball, 20 passes and have that patience to then go, now let's on. So I think more patience will be probably one of the things Pep will speak about.
So 65% possession for us, so not so high, but not as high as we're used to. Exactly.
I think that's exactly it. It's normally we're somewhere around 70, 75% possession, but 65 just shows you that's in terms of transition, we're giving away just a bit too much. But it's also a compliment to Everton.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say as well. I think they've just been really aggressive, especially in the midfield areas, stopping our key players getting on the ball like Kevin De Bruyne and Ilkay. They ain't really getting enough time to get their head up and look. They're just getting put under the pressure straight away. So, like I said, I don't think they can keep that up. And we saw towards the end of the first half that Kevin De Bruyne was now running them the other direction and had not a half chance, but he got in an area where if he puts the ball in a little bit better, there's a clear-cut chance there for someone.
One of the odd things that I'm seeing tonight in terms of the game is when the centre half has stepped forward with the ball. Normally, I don't know if it's Kevin De Bruyne, he's tended to sort of come into that path as though he wants that straight ball passed into him, and that's really odd because normally the centre half steps forward, and the fullback would be up high and wide, and the winger would run inside. And the winger could receive that straight pass and perhaps bounce it to Kevin De Bruyne. But De Bruyne is moved in that straight line, so he can receive a straight ball from the centre half. And it seems an odd movement because we're not able to get him facing forward. So what I saw was him receiving that ball and then just bouncing it back. And it almost played a bit to Everton's hands to be able to press from behind and force us going back as well.
So what sort of changes would you like to see, or what would you like us to be doing differently, Shaun?
For me, I think it's having the patience. I think if we get our wide players to running off the line and come into that area, that grey area for them, where the fullback thinks, do I follow him? Or the centre back also thinks, do I pick up the wide player coming inside? And that confused area there is where we can get balls into him to either set the fullback who will be high and wide, and then we'll find our normal rhythms or patterns. Or it can be also bounce back to Kevin De Bruyne or Gundogan, depending on what side it's on the pitch. But having patience, because having the patience will keep the crowd quiet, and then that could turn into pressure from them if they're not doing well. Everton, that is.
Yeah. Do you agree, Shaun, it's with Goats in terms of we just got to be patient in this second half, or is there some sort of immediate change that you'd like to see?
No, I don't think there's need for an immediate change, and I don't think he will make that yet, and I'll be surprised if he does. I think Everton has just made it hard. I do have to agree with Goats in that way where they do have to be patient, but also is patient at the right time, because sometimes when they press, they are leaving spaces, and it's just whether we see that space or not. But it's one of those games, like I said, we need to start getting people like Ilkay and Kevin on the ball half turns, so they're at least can see the passes in the attacking third, rather than having to keep bouncing the ball back to the centre-backs.
So we've had 2 shots on target, but I have to admit, Ghost, at the minute I'm struggling to remember them. I think, was there a De Bruyne chance at about half an hour in? But we've not had as many clear-cut chances as we would like.
No, I'm sitting there thinking, and exactly it, and I think that's where we're just short, in that final area and finding that pass to get in behind them. Some of it's credit to Everton, in the way they're defending. Again, their crowd play a huge part, and I think that we will find those gaps in those spaces, but we certainly need to work the Everton goalkeeper a lot more.
Do you think we might see any changes at any point in the second half? Because we've got quite a few fresh-legged attacking players on the bench.
I can definitely imagine he would want to get Jack and obviously Gabriel some minutes in their legs, obviously with the Champions League coming up, because I can imagine they will play a massive part in those games just to get their fitness up. So I can imagine them getting on. But Mahrez, he always comes on, and you know what he brings to the game.
I'm thinking about Grealish. We know how Grealish is the most fouled player. I don't know if that's still true, but he always is being fouled. But someone like him in this game, because of them being overzealous in terms of wanting to win that ball, win that tackle, him finding the ball, receiving the ball in the final third, running at them, or sometimes even just standing on it and enticing them to come and put that challenge in, where he can get those fouls, can also be a turning point in this game. So be interesting to see if he was somebody that came on. I wouldn't have thought straight away, but certainly, I don't know, around 15, 20 minutes, yeah. Yeah,
65, I reckon, movement will start happening.
See, thank you very much, gents. Always a pleasure. Thank you. So we're going to have a little look now at who's stat. Do keep your WhatsApp questions coming in. We will get to them in a second. But we've given you 2 clues already on who's stat. We're going to refresh them for you now, and then we're going to give you the 3rd and final clue, which by then I'm sure you'll have it. So clue 1 was City are yet to drop a point or concede a goal when this player has started a Premier League game this season. Clue 2, Julian Lescott has been quoted as saying that this player can do things that other can't. Clue 3, the new clue for you is this player appeared in almost 100 games for today's opposition. Oh, okay. So it is not who we thought it was.
That killed me then.
Well, that's killed us all in the studio, because we thought it was Mahrez, didn't we?
Yeah, I was going to go with Mahrez.
Sean, you were just... He
was just waiting for Mahrez. He just wanted me to be wrong.
So, okay, well, there's only one person it could be. Let's not say it, but...
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder... We need to ask Julian about that next time we see him. Right, let us know who you think it is using #ManCity. Right, I'm going to get to some of the questions now that you've been sending in through WhatsApp for the SHAUN'S, as I have now named them. Thank you so much for sending in your questions. So, the first one here has come from Carl, the Salford Blue, and he says, for both of you, who's the hardest defender you played against? Not the best, the hardest, and he stressed that.
Well, in training, Sean Wright. Listen, no. Hardest defender, Jaap Stamp was really tough, and Martin Keown. These two were just really tough opponents. Jaap Stamp was just an intelligent, really good player. At the time, for me, I thought he was the best centre-back at the time in the world, essentially. But and Martin Keown was just a rash, really. The ball's on the other side of the field, and he's pulling you and scratching you, and you're like, mate, the ball's over the other side. So they were really tough opponents.
I'd have to go way back to Unsworth from Everton.
Wow!
Yeah, because he always tried to just bully me. Like, he didn't realise I grew up like that, so it's all good. Right? I just think he if you look at him, he was already, I think he must have been about 6'3". I must have been about 5 foot at that time, because I've grown like 6 inches since then. So, yeah, like, he tried to physically intimidate me on the pitch.
And during Unsworth's times, I mean, those were days when fullbacks really did leave something on you as a player. Hold on to that. So you had to ride those challenges and keep going. So, yeah, Unsworth was an aggressive fullback, yeah.
Love that question. Thank you so much for that. Okay, Stu has WhatsApped us and he would like to know, do you think it's a mistake taking Bernardo out of the middle to play on the wing? And Stuart is in rugby. Thank you, Stuart. Sean?
How can you ever say it's a mistake when Pep makes a decision? The one thing I can say, which I can kind of agree with and see where he's coming from with that, is he seems to score more goals through the middle. So I can understand why that's there, but Pep's the man. He makes decisions that always seem to work. He's been doing it for the last, 5-6 years, and every time we question him, there's always an end result at the end of it. So it's hard to say it's a mistake, but I think there is a reason behind why he has done that.
For me, I would say, listen, in Pep we trust. I mean, we know that Pep's an absolute genius, and he'll be thinking about things that we just don't have a clue about. The one thing I'll say is, with Bernardo in the midfield, we get that energy that he brings because it's central in the game. So he'll be on the right, he'll be on the left. It's just central to the game. So we see that energy, and we see the energy in possession and out of possession. So when we see him out wide, because we're not seeing him all over the place, we may feel as though, he's not performing as well as when he plays central. And Pep will be thinking, no, it's something else he's looking for that's going to give us the edge in the game.
Brilliant. JMCFC has messaged us, and he's always been watching the first part of the show. Thank you very much for joining us. And Sean, he'd like to follow up on Sean's question and ask you, if you were to become the EDS manager, who is the first player you'd want to be pushing through to join the first team?
Well, strangely enough, I've not been around the EDS team. I've only observed 1 or 2 training sessions, and I really love what they do in terms of moving, shifting the ball, the angles, how they break the game down, and how they want to go forward. How they want to go forward. So,
which one?
What I would say is, there's so many talented players that are coming through, and it would be wrong of me to actually say this one will come through as opposed to another. I'm telling you, the EDS players, they are really good players. I'd love to see
James McAtee. No, I can't lie. I'd love to see
McAtee is.
I'm just not sitting on
I saw McAtee. I saw McAtee in a game pre-season, right? And he done me in the stands, and I can tell you what quality he has. And I've avoided the question, but Sean is absolutely right. McAtee is an exceptional player, and this is why you see him around. You see him around the team. Palmer as well. That's why you see him around the team. These guys are quality players.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for sending in your questions through WhatsApp. The second half is about to begin. We'll be here at full time to give you our analysis and to let you know who's stat. So remember, you get your second half commentary on the Manchester City app with Alistair Mann and Michael Brown. I'll be back at full time with the SHAUN'S, hopefully talking about 3 points for City. We'll see you then.